car rental business. That's how you own your dream car for free. And as a matter of fact, it's how you get paid to drive it. What if I told you it took little to no work? You purchase the vehicle, you list it for rent on an app, it gets rented out, and then you get paid. I'll show you everything you need to know to not pay a dime on your vehicle, plus tips and tricks that I've learned from my experience that you'll want to stick around for. Turo, the app that got a lot of traction during the pandemic, since big car rental companies had to shut down due to less traveling and lower demand. It's a peer-to-peer car sharing company that allows private car owners to rent their vehicles out. Now you may be wondering, how does it even make sense that big car rental companies shut down but Turo didn't? The difference is big car rental companies have massive overhead, such as cars, locations, employees, etc. The Turo app, on the other hand, has minimal overhead. They own no cars, they have HQ locations as well as call centers, which are in India, so that means they're ridiculously cheap. And this also results in drastically less employees that they have to pay. And these are just a few reasons off the top of my head. How does this benefit us? As the world begins to slowly open up and transition back to normal, car rentals are rising in demand once again, leading those users to the Turo app. That gives us private owners an opportunity to make some extra bread from our vehicles. In my case, I did it with one of my dream cars, which is a Tesla. I purchased a used one back in April for the price of $41,300. And although the car market wasn't hot just yet, Teslas were still in high demand and were back ordered for months. This is one of the main reasons I decided to purchase, because my plan was to drive it until I had about 40,000 miles or until the end of next year, because that's when the warranty expires. However, I did still want to sell it with the warranty. That way I can get a higher dollar for it, which at this point I would have lost relatively little due to Tesla's slow depreciation factor. What you're gonna see later on in this video, that completely changes. You can find my journey on the purchase of this vehicle on my other channel, which I will leave a link to down in the description below. However, I'll still be breaking down the numbers here. I didn't actually list the vehicle until like beginning to mid-July. This is when I realized that my friend was doing Turo and his earnings were increasing month to month. Not only that, but his fleet was expanding rapidly. I'm talking from Jeep to BMW to Audi to Range Rover, and his fleet goes on. I think he has about 10 cars now. Meanwhile, another one of my friends had a Porsche for a few months now, and he was profiting every single month on Turo. I figured that could be me as well. Like, why not make money with my vehicle or have it paid off for free? So I did some research on the pricing. Other Teslas in the area were listed around $125 a day. So that's what I listed mine at with the pictures that I had taken when I initially bought the car. Since at this point, the car was basically mint. Plus, I was out of town when I did this, so I couldn't take any myself. The listing process is pretty simple. You get your VIN, you answer a few questions about the vehicle and personal, you write a description, which you can easily just copy other listings that have higher trip counts. And last but not least, you take photos, which I believe is one of the most important factors to this entire process, because it's what's gonna get people to stop scrolling and click on your listing. The same reason you stopped and looked at my thumbnail before clicking. You're gonna want professional looking pictures, which you can either hire a photographer for, which is what my friend with the Porsche did, or you can take them yourself the way Turo recommends, which is a route that I decided to take, the budget friendly route. All you need is a good iPhone, 8 Plus or higher. If you have an older one, I don't know what to tell you. If you have an Android, get an iPhone. I'm just kidding. Go ahead and find a friend. I'm sure you can find a friend that has a good phone or professional camera. Either have them take the pictures or you take them yourself, and make sure that they're under good lighting, either sunrise or sunset. Middle of the day doesn't work too well because it's too bright and the light just reflects off the car horrendously. And with those pictures, you can either learn how to edit them professionally watching YouTube videos, or just do what I did and hit the auto feature on your phone and then do some slight Photoshop. And I'm not gonna lie, I do have a slight advantage here because I do have some Photoshop skills, but all I did was throw a black gradient up and then a blue gradient down to make the sky look cleaner and to really put the focus on the middle of the image, which is the vehicle. The other route would be to pay someone to do it, and on Fiverr it should cost you approximately like $25 to do so. If it's your first time listing on Turo, then you're gonna have to choose a protection plan that you wanna be on. Now this is where it kind of gets tricky because you want to make a smart decision. Ultimately, the more protection that you want, the less that you're going to keep. This can be as low as 60%. However, it is less riskier and you will have a $0 deductible. If you want to keep more of the money from the earnings, then you're going to get less protection, which you can keep up to 90% of the earnings. However, there is more risk involved and your deductible for any accident would be $2,500. I went with the 75% plan because it was the best jump in money for the benefits. I would be getting 15% more than the lowest plan, plus my deductible would only be $250. However, later on in the video, I'm gonna go over why I wish I would have went with another plan that makes more sense. This meant that at the current listed price of $125, I would only keep $93.75 per day that it's rented. And to calculate in how many days my payoff would be and when I would be profiting, the car payment is $650 a month and the car insurance is additional $200 a month. which I actually just found a way to get a cheaper insurance, and that is to use a Tesla insurance. My insurance bill got cut down basically in half, but unfortunately this is only available to Tesla owners in Texas and California. So I had a monthly total liability of $850 a month, earning $125 per day, netting $93.75 per day. This equals out to the car being paid off in 10 days that it's rented out. That's only 1/3 of the month that it needs to be rented out. And ultimately, if you do the math, there's actually profits on the table, but there are some minor expenses such as cleaning the car, delivery cost, and charging it afterwards, which all usually vary in cost. Unfortunately, I decided to enter the business at the wrong time because at this moment, it was at its peak, it was at its prime, and what that usually means is what goes up must come down. And the main reasons for this was that the Turo season was slowing down and other economic downfall factors, such as summer being over, school being back in session, and government funding running out, plus people spending all their stimulus checks and their unemployment. So I had to adjust the pricing to the lower end of the market, which was $95 a day, netting $71.25. At this rate, the payoff went up to 12 days, which is still just slightly over 1/3 of the month. After all was said and done, I finally received my very first rental on August 2nd. And to be quite honest, I was shocked at the results. The dates of the rental were from September 12th to the 18th. This trip earned me $579 with 37 cents. Since this trip was booked so far in advance, I'm gonna come back to it and go in chronological order as the rental dates went by. So the actual first time that I rented out the vehicle to somebody, that booking was received shortly after on August 7th for the date of August 7th through 9th. I had to get the vehicle ready within 3 hours, and it was all worth it because I ended up earning $149 with 62 cents, netting around $140 after cleaning the car and such. This trip was my very first taste at seeing what renting your vehicle on Turo was like. And unfortunately, the steering wheel came back with scratches on it. From what I was told, this was kind of part of the game. After this trip, I ended up lowering the price to $89 because I noticed that I wasn't getting any rentals for the rest of the month of August. Now, this could have been because I blocked off the majority of the time to be with family. And from my experience from other rentals, it looks like people do book closer to the date. They usually don't book really far in advance. At this rate, I was only netting $66.75 per day, which the payoff of the vehicle then went to 13 days rented. Shortly after, I received my third rental, which was on September 4th for the dates of September 5th through 6th. So it was only a 1-day trip, earning me around $89.25, netting around $80. And I know this doesn't add up with what I previously said, but there is ways to upsell renters, which you can add when you're going through the listing process. Which in this case, they paid for a prepaid EV charge, which just means that they can leave the vehicle at whatever charge they want it, and I'll take care of charging it afterwards. And so you guys know, charging a Tesla is really not that expensive, even with a supercharger. It comes down to like less than $10 to fill up the whole thing. When I was cleaning the vehicle after he dropped it off, I noticed that there was an ID left in the car. So this did require some extra time out of me in having to package it and ship it out. Not a big deal, but I feel like there is a story for every single one of my trips. Now, the following trip was the very first trip I was telling you about, where I earned over $500, and this is where I thought, this is it. This is the new wave. This is where we're getting not dumb rich, but we're actually gonna be making some more money. We're gonna start a whole new business. It's gonna be amazing. However, this trip never happened, guys. It did, but I had to refund it. The car decided not to want to supercharge 1/3 of the way on her 10-hour trip, which actually turns out to 13 to 14 hours when you go to supercharge. So this required me to be on the phone with the renter almost all day, trying to help her with the issues. That wasn't working, so I had to try to get her into a new vehicle with Turo and try to get her a refund. Like, it was an all-day thing, and I did not think this is how it was gonna go. It also meant no car for a whole week. I had to find a way to get it back, and I also couldn't rent the car out for an additional week and a half, which led to a potential loss of rental money. The best part about it all was that the car was fixed under warranty, so it cost nothing to fix it. Plus, we did get a Model S as a loaner, although it was an older model. However, I'm so grateful for it because I did need a car. Being without a car for a week really sucks, even when you work from home. The following rental was received the day that the car was fixed, which was on September 29th. So that means I got an instant rental for the dates of October 1st through October 3rd. Through October, y'all, I really can't talk. Through October 3rd. This trip earned $133 with 50 cents, which if we net it out, it came out to be $130. This was probably one of my favorite renters, and that's not to say that I didn't like any of the other ones. They were all great. I'm just saying this was the best one. This renter owned a Tesla. Since this was the case, he already had a charger at home. He returned the car with a full charge at no cost to us. He ended up selling his Tesla because the market was hot, and he ended up profiting on it, which goes to later on give me a genius idea in this video. Plus, to top off everything, he gave us a wireless charger for the Tesla, which was amazing because I was thinking about getting one anyways. Last but not least, the fifth final, and the very last rental. Oh boy, did I learn from this one. This rental was received exactly 1 day after I received the previous rental. So I got back-to-back rentals, except this one was for the dates of October 4th through October 11th. And it just so happened to rent out while I was on vacation in Cancun. And just to find out while I'm there that the car got into an accident. This seems like it's taking a downturn, but believe me, it gets better. I ended up earning $498.60 and ended up netting around $500 because there was some additional incidentals I had to charge for, such as leaving the car below the charge that it was delivered at. However, the cost of the accident heavily outweighs the money by the time that the car rental was out. A lot of my personal time, a car payment without even being able to use the car, which comes with interest, so I can't even get that back in any way. Plus, a $45,000 check from a private buyer when I only owe just under $40,000 on the car. I was waiting for that trip to end so I can take the car in the condition that it was straight to the buyer, get my check, and not only have driven this car for free, but ultimately profit on the car. My luck with owning my dream car doesn't quite seem to be turning into reality until you do the numbers. In August, the total liability of the car was $850 a month. I netted $140 from Turo, which my total car payment this month came out to be $710, which doesn't seem to be free, but this did lower my car payment. And also don't forget that this month, the dates were blocked off for the majority of the month. Now moving on to the month of September, $850 minus $570 minus another $80 for the second trip. This equals out to $200, technically, because obviously we know that I didn't get the $570 since I did have to refund that. But we do have to consider that this was due to unforeseen circumstances. It's not something that we could have predicted. It was completely out of our control. And that's not to say that there could have been another trip that could have canceled out the extra $200 since there were blocked off dates again. And for the month of October, the current month that we're in, while I'm recording this video right now, we can take the $850 minus $500 for the trip with the accident, minus an extra $130 for the trip before that. Totals out to be $220 for the month. And that's only in the first half. Remember, this car was booked from October 1st all the way through October 11th. It only left us with a $220 liability, which still had 20 days to be rented out. And just to show you guys that it was possible, I ended up lowering the price down to $75, and I got 2 bookings almost instantly. This would net me $56.25, and at that rate, all I had to do was rent the car out for 4 more days and the car would have been profitable. However, if we were to keep this price from the very beginning of the month, it would take 15 days to pay it off, which means that it has to be rented out for at least half of the month. I really hate to do this to you guys, but I'm gonna have to continue this video on a part 2, which I normally don't do, but there's so much valuable information, which is initially why it took me so long to even get this part 1 out. So make sure to like this video. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on those post notifications so you get notified when part 2 comes out. And I promise you guys, you're not gonna wanna miss it. I know so far I haven't got into how you get the car for free, but believe me, it gets better because in the end, we're going to be profiting.